Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namo. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunnavari Paschatya Desatarine. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravija Acharya Astoru Shishya Mat, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravija Acharya Astoru Shishya Mat, His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki. Ananti Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki. Naam Acharya Slaridas Thakur Ki. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Sisi Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki. Vrindavan Navadip Dham Ki. Gangamaya Jamnamaya Ki. Bhakti Devi Tulasi Devi Ki. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Hare Krishna. So thank you very much for coming this morning. We'll be reading from the Transcendental Diary. We don't have a hard copy, so I have to read from my computer a little bit. I will comment on we'll comment from time to time on certain points. And if you feel that you want to ask anything, Virabhadra has the microphone, you could ask, okay? And we could just have a discussion. So, reading from the Transcendental Diary, it's in Sri Vrindavan Dham, April 10th, 1976. As we walked in the same forest again this morning, Yashodanandan Swami, who returned from south yesterday, asked Prabhupada to confirm Ahovalam in South India as the actual place of Lord Nrsingadev's pastimes. He had taken photos that he wanted to publish in Back to Godhead. So this place, Ahovalam, a lot of people have probably gone there, and many people have lots of pictures about that place. Even on my phone I have, hundreds of pictures, so many pictures of Lord Nrsingadev. But the question arises whether that was the actual place for the appearance of Lord Nrsingadev. And there was some doubts raised by other devotees, at least Jayadvaita Maharaj and others. So there was some doubts about the actual birthplace. So Prabhupada was saying, why do you bring about a controversy? Or if there's a controversy, what's the need of bringing up such a point that where's the birthplace of so-and-so person or so-and-so personality of Godhead? If there's a controversy. So, and Prabhupada gave the example of the Kakatalya Nyaya, or the logic of the tree and the tall tree and the crow that sat on the tree and the fruit fell down. You know, whether the crow dropped it or whether it was almost falling down, we don't know. So people will speculate like that, where's the appearance of Lord Nrsingadev? So we don't have to worry too much about it, where the birthplace is. But what we should worry about, the pastimes of Lord Nrsingadev. It's more important, his activities. Like we probably attached to our birthplace, maybe some of us are attached to our birthplace, are we? Not really, oh, okay. Yeah, so the main point is that we hear the pastimes, because the pastimes, like Lord Nrsingadev, especially in Lord Nrsingadev, when you hear his pastimes, it removes those obstacles to dive deep into the forest, to go deep into the forest of Vrindavan. Like today our altar is so beautiful. The deities look it's amazingly beautiful. Just by, I think, Subhadra Mataji probably. It was very beautiful. So it removes the obstacle. But Yashodanandan Maharaj was barefoot. He was walking barefoot. And Prabhupada was concerned that, sometimes it's in the forest and it could be a little dangerous and he shouldn't be walking barefoot. So there was some care from Srila Prabhupada amongst the midst of all this discussion about the controversy of the birthplace of Lord Nrsingadev. But still he was thinking of his disciple. And I found that quite amazing when I was reading it last night, is that sometimes we may be over spiritual and not be concerned about the devotee. But ultimately, the devotee is most important. Is it more important than the Lord? Is the devotee. But sometimes we would like focus so much on the deity or the Lord, and we forget the devotee. But Srila Prabhupada was very conscious about this. He was very conscious. And once he was in the midst of amazing Guru Puja. Srila Prabhupada was being worshipped by hundreds of people. And the arati was going on. And then he called one devotee because he noticed that the devotee had some bandage or probably on his leg, and he kind of thought, well, that the devotee must be, hurt his foot. And Prabhupada called him to his Vyasasana amongst all this worship. It's amazing. To ask him, what was wrong? Are you all right? Is it bad? Have you gone to the doctor? Or do you need the medicine? Do you need some medicines? But just look at our scenario. For example, if somebody cannot do the service and they may be sick, what will you think? Oh gosh, I have to fill in for him. I have to do this. This is what you're thinking, isn't it? Is that not true? Actually, that's what you must not do. Because, and I was explaining it a little yesterday, because that service is for Krishna. It's not Madhurya service. It's It's Krishna's service. Isn't it? It's Krishna's service. So when we're doing it for the pleasure of Krishna. And you must always think, well, now I've got the opportunity to just do it and serve the devotee also. The other way of thinking of it is, well, okay, then I'm becoming the servant of the servant. Have you thought about it like that? But there's so many complaints we could make why we shouldn't do it. I did your service today, tomorrow you must do mine. It's like that. But it shouldn't be like that. You become the servant of the servant. And as you become the servant of the servant, then devotional service becomes sweeter and sweeter and sweeter. See, the person who's worshipping the Lord on the altar, he's doing it on behalf of everybody. He's worshipping. But then we serving him also, because we're taking the lamp and we're going around. And we're taking it around and we're serving so many Vaishnavas. You ever thought about it like that? Did you? That's why you see Madhurya is running for the lamb. She wants to get the lamb. And sometimes devotees will stand and stare. Maybe they're very fixed on the deity, but they may not be able to rush for the lamp. And you must have that enthusiasm. Like once I was in India, in Vrindavan, and a person was giving a lecture, the tour, and he was criticizing people, especially in India, it's a little different. India, you don't have to take the lamp around. You'll go to the lamp. So you don't have to worry about the lamp. You can leave it in one corner there. People will go there. Indian people will run there because they understand that that's the mercy of the Lord, and then they rush to it. So we must have that type of enthusiasm. So in worshipping Krishna, in worshipping the Lord, and hearing his pastimes, of all that, the devotee is very important. The devotee. So Prabhupada, he displayed so much care and affection. So much care and affection for a person who was just probably a normal run-of-the-mill of the devotee, you would say. Like as Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj will say it, run-of-the-mill devotee. So, but every devotee is important to Krishna, because every devotee has certain quality that nobody else got. And only he can offer that to Krishna. That kind of mood and love. So that devotee is very important. So we should be conscious of that. And, there's other devotees who also Prabhupada showed so much of care. There's so many I think of. And one was that where one devotee had some health issues, and Srila Prabhupada had a sign in the kitchen that said what? Health number 1, what's number 2? Chanting. And after chanting, service. And after service, reading. There's 4. But first, health. Because there's one devotee, Jadu Rani, who had poor health. And sometimes devotees may push their bodies to just do the service, and they harm the body. But that you mustn't also do. It doesn't mean that you must do so much, where you harm the body, because that's also not good, because that's Krishna's property. And you're harming Krishna's property. Because you're not the body, right? That's what you say to people. Isn't it? I'm not the body, I'm the spirit soul. But so that the body doesn't belong to you. At least you are housed in it for now, but it's still the property of Krishna. So we take care of the body. We take care of the body so that we can render service nicely. What do you think of that? Any comment on anything? So care, this care. There's one more incident which I said before, but I found that to be most amazing. Was when little Saraswati, the daughter of Malati, dunked her hand into some red hot chutney. And the chutney, they normally called it in London, it was called Radha Red Chutney. Radha Red Chutney. So she dunked her hand, and the devotees, the first thing, what do you think they thought of? They thought of, is it offerable? Is it offerable? Is the chutney offerable? So see how sometimes you can be so much deeply absorbed in your service, you may miss the devotee. You miss the devotee. So we have to be conscious of that. And then Prabhupada, when it came to Prabhupada's attention, he said, does she need medical attention? Take her to a doctor. Those are things you have to do. Not when the devotee is sick, or you think, well, he may be pretending, this and that. It becomes a controversy itself. So yes. So then, and then they asked Prabhupada, what should we do with the chutney? He said, offer it. That's what you should do with the chutney. You should offer it. So we sometimes too spiritual, and we may forget. Then the discussion goes around the talk on Prahlad. Prahlad pacifies the Lord with his prayers. And there's a discussion, well, he doesn't, Harisuri Prabhu doesn't get in too much in depth with it, but he was speaking about how demons always aspire for material happiness. There's a very fine line, because yesterday I was speaking about you may have an ulterior motive when you're rendering some service. There may be some ulterior motives. I don't think so, it's all of the all, but maybe, But we may have some hidden agenda why we're doing certain things. Get it better? Like Dhruva Maharaj's intention was to, his heart was pierced. I was explaining it yesterday. And he became upset. And he wanted to have that kingdom. He wanted to control everybody. And that's another thing we should be cautious of. Because that's demonic behavior. Just like sometimes we may be friendly with somebody, but we want to control that person. He must only be with me. You have this, people have this tendency? Yes, very much, in our society also. So that type of control, that's not good. And Prahlad Maharaj, he was born in this demonic family. And although he was a pure devotee, but even a pure devotee living amongst people who are demonic may be affected. It's not that, it's so easy, because this is the material world. So we may have some ulterior motive when we're doing service, and we have to check ourselves from time to time. What am I trying to, I'm doing this service, am I trying to impress somebody? Like I'm very impressed with people who don't impress themselves. I'm very impressed with those type of people. Serious. That's important. But then, within that prayers where Prahlad was offered, Shishi Radha Raghunath Ki. So Prahlad was offered, some material benefits were being offered to Prahlad, but he didn't want to accept. He didn't want to accept. And then Srila Prabhupada speaks about a person called Ishan, who was living, his roof was full of holes, and the rain was coming. And Lord Chaitanya offered to repair it. And what did he say? He rejected the offer. He said the birds are simply living in the trees with no roof at all. They're very happy. You hear them in the morning, they're singing in the morning. So why should we bother? So that's a nice way of thinking, you know. And the other thing is that we don't engage Krishna in our service. That's the other point to note. Because the next thing where Prabhupada is speaking about Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis. You know, following upon this example, he speaks about Rupa, I'm paraphrasing, so here and there, of Rupa and Sanatana Goswami. And they were living in the forest in Vrindavan. And Sanatana Goswami was the elder brother. In general, the elder brother in any home is normally considered, at least in Vedic culture, was considered to be the superior, the spiritual master. So like this, they were living in the forest, and Rupa was a younger brother, and they were living underneath a tree. So there was no real means. But Rupa Goswami thought, only if I could get some articles, if I could get something, some rice, some dal, some ghee, then I'll prepare a nice, maybe sweet rice, I don't know, maybe something very nice, and offer it to my brother. So when he was thinking like this, then a beautiful young girl had come in the forest and had given him all these different ingredients. So when Sanatana Goswami was offered this, then he was inquiring as to how did he manage to secure such items in the forest. So Radharani had personally come. He figured, by the descriptions, because especially a person like Rupa, in the category of Rupa Goswami, he would know exactly how Radharani looks. Because he's so closely connected to that. As Rupa Manjari. Very close. So, the descriptions he gave, then he realized, you're taking service from Radharani. So that's not good. But Prabhupada is very intelligent the way he threads everything. Yeah. And we should not take service from the Lord. But rather we should be engaging in service. But the Lord also loves His devotees and will also like to serve His devotees. It reminds me of another pastime. I think it's, I forget the details, but it's about how, I'd rather not say it, I might just give the wrong information. Yeah. So Radharani makes, arrangements also for the devotee to serve. And that mood of Radharani, we have to cultivate that mood. You see, Radharani's mood is everybody go forward and she remains in the back. But actually the back person is the first person. The person who's last is the first person. He's got the most mercy. So that mood, we have to develop that mood that we push. Radharani's mood is to push other people forward. Even in any service you do, you train other people, and you'll get more benefit than doing it yourself than by, when you train people. Because, to train others is not an easy thing, because you'll always not say one thing. That keeps you superior. It's true. These things happen, right? Because you wouldn't want to give all your information. That's the material way of thinking. But a devotee, when he develops Radharani's mood, he gives all information. A Brahman it should be like that. He should be very open and transparent and give everything, and keeps nothing for himself. Even if somebody betters themselves and be better than me, that's okay. You think like that? I'm asking. That somebody must be better than me, or I must be the best musician, or I must be the best in anything. It's very subtle, Even myself, I've been a devotee for a while, so I've been around. I understand behavioral patterns, how it goes. So Prabhupada is showing that how we don't take service from the Lord. And he quoted two examples, one from Lord Chaitanya and one of Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. And we go to the place, there Kadamba, which will be hopefully going shortly there, to Kadamba. And then I always think how Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami were in this forest, and specifically this particular pastime, yeah. And then the discussion changes into, then Prabhupada starts speaking about, using everything in Krishna's service. Like, traditionally a sannyasi is not meant to be moving in flashy cars and opulent buildings, and that's not how a sannyasi lives. Supposed to be living very simply. Even you find that, people who take birth in India, the sannyasis, they still have that in their consciousness, that they must be living too, very austerely. It's just that the way, the people who take birth in that part of the world. But then Prabhupada, he uses all this modern technology, he uses a vehicle, but people criticize, hey, Swami is flying in the airplane. And Ram Govinda Maharaj said, one day when he jumped off from his village, he had one bag, because he had a bag with a laptop or something, maybe some few things, and people were looking at him, and he knew. And he told me why they were looking at him, because they know that you got too much, you're owning too much. So people would criticize you, why you're flying, and that is not our principle. So even the Jains, you heard of the Jains? Jains are people who are offshoot of, anyway, they're worshippers of Rishabdev. You'll read about them in the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Rishabdev. And they're very strict. They will cover their face and you can't see them. And then they also started using the modern technology when they saw Prabhupada traveling like that. Because Prabhupada was very practical. He said that if I have to walk all the way to America from India, how long will it take? When I can fly in 15 hours. And also, the people who made that plane benefits, because a pure devotee is using in Krishna's service. Otherwise it's useless, that plane is useless. It's used in Krishna's service. So that's like foolishness, Or what you would say in the nectar of devotion, a nectar of instruction, niyamagraha. To follow the principles without any profit. Just observing rules and regulations. Like people go to temples, also mosque or temple or a church, just out of a ritual, like a ritual. I have to go a certain time and you're out. That's in the category of niyamagraha. So we, there's opportunities to preach, and we find that even in the nectar of devotion, it is mentioned that we, and Prabhupada writes it there, that we use a typewriter, dictaphone, microphone, we use everything in Krishna's service. So it's a property of Krishna, and we use it in his service. And this is our philosophy. I'll just read what he says in Nectar of Devotion. One should not give up anything which can be utilized in the service of the Lord. That is the secret of devotional service. That is the secret. The other day we were talking about that pamphlet. We were talking about that pamphlet. Madhurya, we were talking about the pamphlet, and Prabhupada, used the pamphlet, although it was Mayavadi philosophy, and he served prasadam on it. He used it as a plate. So we must look at every way how we can utilize anything we have in the service of Krishna, including our cell phones. including cell phones. You could use it in Krishna's server. And so we don't really condemn, people can, whatever they have, use it in Krishna's service. And Prabhupada writes, our vision is that Krishna is everything. That's our vision. Krishna is the cause and effect, and nothing belongs to us. Krishna's things must be used in the service of Krishna. That is our vision. So everything you use in Krishna's service, whatever you get, and you'll benefit. And we should engage people in Krishna's service. Whenever we meet, like we were at the campus on Thursday, we missed our crew. It was myself and Braja Seviki, both of us, and we were trying to open all those containers. And it was like a little tight, and we had to open and we had to serve the people. So many people were coming for prasadam. And then I saw 3 boys far away. I called them, I said, come here. So they came. They came to the tent. I said, right, open all these things. They started opening everything. And they opened and they put it on the table. And one boy was looking at the Bhagavad Gita. And he's looking, and he bought it. He said, I want to buy that book. He bought the book. It's amazing. And then he texted me later on, and in the night. So we have to engage people in Krishna's service, a little in different ways. And we should use whatever property we have in Krishna's service. So then it comes to the point where the devotees now, they are like charged up in the association of Srila Prabhupada for the last few weeks, lots of Harinam, Sankirtan. Harinams are very beautiful also. And especially in the Dham, in Mayapur, Vrindavan, the Gaur Purnima festival. And the devotees became very purified. But then they go to their own places and then they carry this energy and they give it to others. You must be able to give it to others. Even if you're not enthusiastic, just pretend to be enthusiastic, that's okay. Just jump around a little bit and, everybody start jumping around, then things change. And you create that enthusiasm. You'd like to share an experience you had on enthusiasm? Huh? On your experience. Yeah, we don't have much time, but that's why I'm asking you. So then we move on to, there's a Kadasi Vrat, and then there was an incident where Pushta Krishna Swami, he came to South Africa. He was a surgeon, and he was serving here. But then he was trying to drive in India, and India driving is like something else. You can drive without the brakes, but not without the hooter. Isn't it? You must have the hooter, but you can drive without the brakes. Brakes you don't have to have. But hooter you must have. Hooter is most important. And they have such an amazing way. They know exactly which side to move. Because Krishna from within, directs them. So Pushta Krishna, he did not take notice of a ox cart that was, he was overtaking an ox cart. And then there was some accident. And Prabhupada was not pleased. It was really a bad sight, but they had to go away. They had to run away. Like hit and run, it was called. Because in India now, if they stop, if you stop, then all the people from the area, they will beat you up. So they had to leave. But Prabhupada was not very pleased. So, with this incident. So I just paraphrase that. Then, and before Prabhupada went to Bombay, from Vrindavan, he stopped at Delhi to look at a place that, could be used as a temple. And Prabhupada rejected it because it was too expensive. He did different things. Sometimes, he gave more money than that person. He knew that the person was cheating, but because he wanted some place, he really wanted it, like Bombay. Then he would give the money. But he was also very cautious as to how he spent Krishna's money. Very cautious. And in our own lives, we should also be very cautious how we spend the money of, Krishna's money. Because we're not meant to misuse the funds. We use it very carefully and cautiously in the service of Krishna, and then Krishna will be pleased. Sometimes we try to bargain with the people in Vrindavan, and they are cheats also. They're number one cheaters. They know how to cheat you. So one day we buy a lot of things from the man. So another devotee was dealing with and I was sitting there. And the devotee, for the temple, we were buying some books. And the man gave a very, fantastic price. So I told him, no, I'm meant to deal with it, not him. So I told him, I will take about 10,000. We want 10,000 books. The man came, his price came half immediately. I told him we'll take 500 now at that price, and later we'll take the balance. So we have to have that skill also. In another instance, we had to bring the sandalwood for the deities, and an order was placed to the same owner. So when I walked in there, I said, we are not taking it. We don't want it. Now he already had it with him, he already ordered it, and he had it with him. And it was quite a phenomenal price. And there was another devotee, Rupanuga was there. I brought him to almost less than half. I told him, okay, still I'm not happy, I'll see you, I'll talk to you tomorrow. So we use our skills, for Krishna's service, which we have to also be very careful about that. Then we move on to Bombay in 1976, and they came to the airport, and as usual, Srila Prabhupada, they have a very elaborate foot bathing ceremony, Guru Puja at the Hare Krishna land, like they do at all times. When Srila Prabhupada arrives, and then this big Guru Puja. In the earlier years, we used to do that. Or even any spiritual master came, and it was like very wonderful to have that. We should receive them at the airport, and we should come here, and then we should do arti. And then there was some controversy anyway. Then at one point, then we had to do it there in the foyer. There in the foyer. So it was being done in the foyer, and then there was Bhakti Charu Maharaj had come, and then they bathed his feet, and they did the foot bathing, and now there's a tussle now for the dish now. So what I did, I went under the dish because they are fighting now, the water is falling on me. So, each one is pulling. So one has to be quick, to get the mercy also. So, but then after that, we kind of like stopped doing so much of it, but that may not also be so good. We have to receive the sadhu in a good way. Another devotee, Nanda Kumar Prabhu, he was saying in a village in Bombay, he was there and he was doing the arti, for Prabhupada. And the people were offering flowers to the altar and to Prabhupada, and this was going on for a long time, the arti. It went on very long. And as he was doing the arti for Prabhupada, he had this feeling that he's serving Krishna. Because the way to understand, Krishna, one has to go to the spiritual master. So he could feel that love. And he felt that connection between Radha and Krishna. So as he fanned, I guess the deities were there and Prabhupada was there. And Prabhupada, then he went to offer Prabhupada the prasadam, the arti, the flowers or the water, and sprinkle water on Prabhupada's head. And then Prabhupada, he was also like feeling that energy. And Prabhupada told him, thank you very much. He understood, that this is how it is to serve Radha and Krishna in the spiritual world. So yes, there's Guru Puja, food bathing. But in another time, I read I heard it and I read it in the Memories book. In 1974, in a Rath Yatra, the temple president organized a special program. This was more like a fundraising program as usual. So they auctioned different services of different ceremonial services of Prabhupada. So some people you can bathe Prabhupada with honey, milk or yogurt, or you can, give some dakshin, you have to give something. So at that time, this devotee was a householder and he received thousands of dollars in inheritance. So he thought it a good opportunity. So he bid very high and he won the one that was, you have to bathe Prabhupada's feet. So then he started bathing Prabhupada's feet with the yogurt, with the honey. And he took his time because he wanted to get his money's worth, he said. So he took his time, and then Prabhupada, he noticed that this person is taking so much time. He said, hurry up. Hurry up. But then again, Prabhupada had other things to do and he didn't want to show that, he's being worshipped, But anyway, this devotee, he still relished it, he had that opportunity. But what a way. This is, this was like auctioning things, but I don't know whether that's a nice thing to do. I'm not sure. That'll be another controversy. I just want to leave it out. But yeah. So then we move on to April 12, 1976. And then there's Dr. Patel. Dr. Patel was a very intelligent person, but you never could say whether he was a Vaishnava or a Mayavadi. It's very difficult to say. But Prabhupada and him would have arguments. But I really appreciate those arguments because we learn so much from it. I was hearing those tapes, I heard it quite a few times when they would have those arguments on the philosophy, on what Mayavad philosophy, and Dr. Patel knew Sanskrit, he studied in London, and Prabhupada would, really finish him. But one day, Prabhupada attacked a revered leader of India, and Dr. Patel was a follower of that leader. And Dr. Patel, he got very upset, got extremely upset that Prabhupada was, and there was almost like a wrestling match going on, like a boxing match. Somebody has to come and stop it and pull them away. At times, it was like that. Then Prabhupada told a story of a person because you could never say where he was. Because when he's talking, you talk about Vaishnavism, he'll talk about Vaishnavism, like he's a Vaishnav. So he said that it was in a village, one man, you could speak many languages, lots of different languages. So you couldn't say which was his mother tongue. You couldn't say because he could respond to you very fluently and immediately he'll respond. So you couldn't say. So one person said, no, I'll find out. I'll be able to tell you what he is to say. So he goes, he goes to this person goes to that person who speaks many languages and gives him a hard shot from the back. You don't see the person. So then how does the person respond? He responds in his own language, in his mother tongue. You get it? It's just like, you can speak Zulu, you can speak other languages, but all of a sudden your language will come in between because it's innate. It'll come in. Somehow 1-2 words will come in. You can't, because that's innate, So then this fellow, it was revealed. So Prabhupada says this story to say that he was attacking Dr. Patel because he could respond to you in any language. He was like a Vaishnav, then he's like a Mayavadi, and then you couldn't say. But when Prabhupada attacked him, of the revered leader that he was following, then he got very upset. So this conversation, they would have lots of arguments, and at one time they walk in the beach in the morning, and him and Prabhupada will have the conversation, those morning walks you see in Bombay. And then on one occasion, Srila Prabhupada, the argument was so much, he said, no more discussion of philosophy or not this, we will read Krishna book. Therefore you'll see Giriraj Maharaj is reading Krishna book and walking, and that recording is there. And but still, the man, he avoided Prabhupada. He would walk. So one day he was walking the other way. Prabhupada was walking, and he was walking the other way, and he was drawn to Srila Prabhupada. Somehow because of it. Prabhupada is a pure devotee and that energy. So he went to Prabhupada, he offered his respects, and he said, in India, we are taught to respect all saints. And Prabhupada said, we are taught to say who is a saint and who is not. That's what we learnt. So we point out who's not a saint. so like this. And then anyway, in the discussion, and then they got together like that. And then later Dr. Patel, when he passed away, before he could pass away, there's an article in the Back to Godhead. Doctor calls himself a fool, and he loves it. Because Prabhupada should call him a fool. He used, so many different things, like rascal, fool, and he loved it. There's an article, you can check it out. Yeah, so this Dr. Patel, I'll read it. Dr. Patel joined us. The discussion was lively. Srila Prabhupada told him that our recent application for 350 acres of land in Mayapur. He also informed him his plan to build a Vedic planetarium to exhibit the different planetary system. And incidentally, Dr. Patel, if you start quoting a verse from the scriptures, let's say if you quote 2 lines, or you quote 2 words, he could complete the verse. He was quite knowledgeable. Yeah. Dr. Patel said he had recently read a news article wherein Russian scientists were prepared to accept that there are other planets in the cosmos that have human life. No Russians, yeah? Anybody Russian? Russian, yeah, okay. So then, he thought that the Russian interest in Vedic culture would eventually bring about an end to the purely materialistic philosophy of Karl Marx, replacing it with the idea of spiritual communism. He declared that in another 20 years, communism would be as watered down in Russia as it is presently in India. Yeah. There was like a lot of, spiritual communism. What's your definition of spiritual communism? You know what's communism, right? What's the thoughts of communist people? Everything is run by, it's like centralization, which is something Prabhupada didn't approve. Centralization, But he was always decentralizing things. Prabhupada's philosophy was decentralization. Therefore, only our BBT is like centralized. But all other temples are decentralized. They work on their function on their own. They function on their own. Yeah. But even in Russia, people were suffering at the time when Prabhupada went there too. People are suffering in every part of the world. But unless they don't really surrender to Krishna, people will still suffer. The material world is so designed; it's designed to cause people to give them pain. That's what it is. And Prabhupada said other things, but we won't discuss it with we are out of time, and I just thought maybe one or two things. One more. Yeah, there's so many things to say, but maybe we can do it some other time. I thought maybe I'll just mention about so much. Yeah. We can continue next week, but I'll just want to mention one last point of, like when you try to, exploit, especially, like the British, they exploited India. A lot of jewelry. There was so much thievery. And that was not good. And they took Indian soldiers to fight in other parts of the world. And then, as soon as India became independent, well, this is what Prabhupada said. As soon as India became independent, then the whole British Empire started to collapse. And he gave the reason because of all their atrocities. And he said they will become beggars, which is true. They have an Indian Prime Minister there. They have an Indian Prime Minister anyway there. And then he said, these people, in India you see camels. In India they're very tall. And then Prabhupada says that these people, these British Raj, they took their next birth as camels in India. These are the people. They took birth as camel with their high noses, their noses are high in the air. So we have to be careful when in exploitation. We shouldn't exploit others. Even in South Africa we experience exploitation. And therefore, apartheid itself, it crumbled at a point. But we may still have that, that's like really, still people on the bodily concept of life anyway. But yes, so we have to be very, very careful. So we'll stop here. Any comments or questions? Kulishekar Prabhu.
Raghunath Bhatta Prabhu. Krishna to you.
Hare Krishna.
Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur said that...
Can you talk a little? I think it's not on. Just check if it's on. You have to eat the mic.
Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur said that, showing kindness and compassion is not separate or independent from bhakti. So, there is like a little controversy about giving beggars money. They say like, if you give beggars money and they use it for intoxication or something, then
sure.
you get the karma. But one time Srila Prabhupada was in India and he was traveling with some devotees. And a beggar came to the car. And Srila Prabhupada asked the devotees in the back if they have any coins. And he said, must give it to the beggars, because if you don't give to the beggars, it makes your heart hard. So, and another thing also, I want to thank you while you're sitting over there, that Raghunath Bhatta is not only an educated and well-learned in Srila Prabhupada's philosophy, but he has a good, kind heart as well. Because one time, I got banned 5 times from ISKCON. I used to stand outside by the gate, but you was always kind to buy me a burger or a cold drink and come and give me outside.
Sure.
Even Mother Radhanath used to get so much of scolding from the authorities by giving me prasad over the fence.
Yes, I remember.
So thank you, Raghunath Bhatta. I want to thank you publicly. I always remember your kindness.
Thank you.
So Hare Krishna.
Yeah. I remember Kulishekar, the first time he came with Japa Mala, yeah? He was, anyway, he came. I don't want to say other things. He came, but yes, I remember the day, yeah, when he joined, yeah. Yes, Sarvakanti.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. They also took the Kohinoor from India, and now India is telling return the Kohinoor. They don't want to return it.
Yeah. Well, we have to tell the Indian Prime Minister to take a decision. Yeah. Yeah. But thank you, Kulishekar Prabhu, for your... Correct. Yeah. Correct. That's correct. Yeah, that's true. But the pastime that he was explaining, where Prabhupada gives the money in Bombay, there was the devotee there, another devotee, Vishaka, Mother Vishaka was there in the car. So she was thinking that why is Prabhupada giving Krishna's money to these beggars? And she said, Prabhupada, that's Krishna's money. And Prabhupada kept quiet. He didn't say anything. And then she realized that she may have offended him. But as she was going, she got this realization that this money is like prasadam for the beggar. Get it? So Prabhupada was giving them prasadam. So she mentioned and Prabhupada said yes.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
So
It's spices, okay.
So Prabhu, I want to ask, if I give beggar money,
Yeah.
and they buy drugs, and drugs that actually kill them, wouldn't I share that karma?
Yes, because it's in the mode of there's charity in the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. You're giving it in ignorance because you really don't know what that person is going to use it for. But you can calculate. Like me, sometimes I give people things. I give them money, but I think about it deeply. That this person needs something, and maybe maybe he'll appreciate me like that, and then that appreciation of me will be his advancement in Krishna consciousness. That also it can be there. So if you look at it from that perspective, then maybe you should give it. Otherwise, as Kulashekar Prabhu stating, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said your heart will become, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also mentions that, your heart will become hard if you don't give. But we have to be cautious, we should be thoughtful before we take that decision. I'm giving it, so this person for spiritual advancement. But there's some, you will get, if you're an accessory to the crime, let's put it that way. You may have to go to the police station and give a report or something. But you may not be so badly punished. But there is some reaction to it, because you're an accessory. Yeah. Quite interesting, this philosophy. Such an interesting philosophy, yeah. Yeah, but in general, we don't, give people and they may misuse it. Yeah. But what if you give the person and he buys intoxication and he says, okay, Krishna, this wine is you, man. This is all coming from you. So the wine is for Krishna. And in Indian tradition, what they do, they normally take a little and they offer it. Intoxication. So if they have taking intoxication, they take a little bit and they drop it first for ancestors. Kulashekar can tell you more. He knows. You drop a little bit. So offering. So even so maybe you can make some advancement also. It's quite interesting. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but it was so wonderful, Krishna consciousness is so wonderful. Yeah, but I remember Kulashekar and I appreciate his contribution and Krishna consciousness, distributing a lot of Prabhupada's books, serving the Vaishnava during Kartik Mass. I was also served by him. There he was serving prasadam. Isn't? So it's very nice. So all devotees have some good qualities. So we look at the good and we magnify the good. You want to say something?
You're speaking about now good qualities in the devotee, and earlier you spoke about how every devotee has their own unique quality. So in one lecture, I think it was Giriraj Swami that said, sometimes we may think that, Krishna, there's so many souls in the spiritual world serving Krishna. And if we go back to the spiritual world, what difference will it make? And then he was speaking about that every devotee has a unique quality. Every soul has a special unique quality. And Krishna is waiting for that soul to come back to the spiritual world so he can relish that specific quality.
Yeah, that's true. So Krishna is waiting for you to go back to him. But before you go back to him, take prasadam. Yeah, but thank you all very, very much for your association, and we'll continue next week with the Prabhupada Leela Amrita. Hare Krishna.
Grace Raghunath Bhatta Prabhu ki, Srila Prabhu.
We have to go for the Hari Nam now. We just got an hour. Come for the Hari Nam. But they don't be too long. It'll be just like it don't be too long, the Hari Nam. The Hari Nam only.